So I'm Jeff McCord, and I'm part of the Kickstarter team for Undead Apocalypse.
Great. Tell me, in a general sense, a little bit about the game.
So Undead Apocalypse is a post-apocalyptic epic battle between vampires fighting zombies, fighting werewolves, fighting post-apocalyptic humans.
And how many players?
It can play anywhere from 2 to 4 players.
Great. And about how long a game time is it?
Our hope is that the game plays about 45 minutes. During a first playthrough, you're probably going to be playing more like an hour to an hour and a half.
Okay. And so tell me a little bit about the gorgeous board there.
So the board is basically divided into 10 regions in a futuristic, post-apocalyptic European setting. And the field on which this epic battle plays out.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about the individual components that come with the game.
So one of the most exciting components are these beautiful 54 millimeter miniatures. They're going to be a high quality molded plastic, and they'll be colored to match each of the faction types, which you'll see here with these beautiful painted wooden cubes for each of the colors. You'll notice that we also have these hand painted miniatures that are part of one of the pledge levels, which is the secret cache level and above. There are also individual cards which are for each of these little decks, are for each of the faction types. There are resource markers, and there is a 10-sided die that's going to be a custom die, the event deck, and then each of the individual faction cards. These are considered clan markers, and each faction has a set of clan markers that they use as part of their battling.
Oh, great. And now, each one of the factions, I'd guess, is probably different a little bit. How do each one of the factions play?
That's true. Each one does have their strengths and weaknesses. For example, Vampire, they happen to be very good at turning. In other words, making one of their opponents into a vampire. They're not so good at killing, whereas the werewolf is very good at attacking and killing, but not so good at expanding or adding clan members. Each one of them has their own strengths and weaknesses. They also have something that actually will be something that can be used against them. For example, the vampires have something we call reagents. And these reagents are things that can harm vampires. For example, holy water and garlic. With werewolves, the reagents are wolfsbane and silver. And each one in turn has their own reagents that will affect them.
Cool. So how do you quickly set up the game for play?
So first, the 10-sided die is rolled. It's determined who gets to go first. Once we determine that, each player in turn gets to place one of their clan cubes, and that is placed into places that they want to try to battle for until there's a total of 5 out for each member on the board. And then the last step is to place the leader. In this case, we'll use the hand-painted miniatures. So here's the werewolf leader. We'll place that over here. Vampire leader wants to be over here. Take the human leader, put it there. And the zombie leader, put it there.
Now, how do you set up the resources for play?
These are the resource markers. And I will start by telling that there are 3 types of resources. One is a standard resource like food or weapons that act as modifiers or help you to add clans, things like that. There's also something called fortresses. These, if found, are turned face up, and then any clan members that you have in that section are then protected by a modifier. And the third is called a reagent, and that reagent is either a modifier against a certain creature, or if you happen to collect your own reagent, it can actually help you against others. At the beginning of the game, there are 3 resource markers that are placed in each region in a little stack. These are going to be thick cardboard, and they're going to be die cut in a really interesting shape, so that each region has 3 resources. There's also the deck called the event deck, and that deck starts at the second round of the game, and an event is turned up, and it will affect everybody equally. For example, this one is famine strikes, no turning for 1 round.
Interesting. So walk me through what happens during a factions round with the action cards that they have.
At the beginning of the game, each player gets to deal out at random 5 cards from their action deck.
So during a person's turn, tell me about their action deck and how they play it.
They each have 5 cards that they're using in their turn, in their round. They're allowed to use up to 3 actions during their turn. And those actions consist of attacking, which means attacking another player, another faction. Turning, which means turning them into one of your own kind. Adding, which means adding clans of your kind onto a region where your leader is. Moving, which means moving a clan or leader from one place to another. And gathering a resource, which these can be found here. And there's also something called capturing a reagent, which we can talk about a little bit later.
Sure. So why don't we walk through exactly how an attack or a turn takes place?
In the case of an attack, you can attack either a clan to a clan or a leader to a clan. So for example, let's say that the vampire attacks the humans that are in this section right here. So they would play their card, and the human then has to roll the 10-sided die. A successful defense is a roll of anywhere from 1 up to 5, and a loss is anywhere from 6 to 10. In this case, so 4 means a successful defense, then that human is not lost.
And how does a turn work?
So a turn means that once the vampire wants to attack the human, first of all, it has to be, in this case, the leader that does a turn. And so if they're successful, and the human rolls a 9 in this case, the human is not defended, so that means the human is lost from the board, and one of the vampires is put in its place.
Great. So tell me a little bit about how the game ends. How do you...
The way the game is won is when your faction has completely eliminated all the clan members of all the other factions.
So it's kill or be killed in this post-apocalyptic world.
It is. The only thing that will be left standing is their leader, in which case it's lost.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Wonderful gameplay, and it looks like a wonderful game to play.
Thank you.